So corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are coming under fire now as conservative groups are pushing against the workplace policies.
Legal threats against companies promoting these initiatives have only ramped up since the Supreme Court ruling that determined affirmative action was unconstitutional. So Lauren Weber is joining us now here in Studio 57. She's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal who recently co-wrote the piece titled "The Legal Assault on Corporate Diversity Efforts Has Begun." And, you know, we talked about the affirmative action case that had to do with college admissions, but a lot of these cases, too, were sort of have been bubbling around in the lower courts. It so happened that the affirmative action case managed to make it up to the Supreme Court, but any one of these probably could have as well. So we were talking earlier, and so before we even get into the arguments, give us an example of one of the examples maybe in your article of a company that's finding themselves in sort of the crosshairs of these conservative groups, but also pressure to remain diverse and inclusive.
Sure. So one example we wrote about was Comcast, cable giant, which was sued for starting a small business grant program in the wake of the pandemic or soon after the pandemic began. And they were offering small grants and particularly offering these to companies that were at least majority owned by a person of color or a woman. And that program was challenged by a group of conservative legal activists. The case settled, and the following year after it was begun, Comcast opened that program to any small business.
Mm-hmm. So the affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court has emboldened this push by conservative activists to now challenge this diversity, equity, inclusion program. Fair to say?
Yes.
There was another program you mentioned in your article down in Texas. I believe it was a white woman trying to start a company as it related to delivery company with Amazon. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that one.
Sure. So Amazon had a program where they were offering some startup funds to independent delivery services that were going to come to work for them. Some startup funds were available, particularly to delivery companies started by people of color. Again, the theory being that there are barriers to inclusion by particular groups. We want to help overcome those barriers, open up the opportunity to as many people as possible. A white woman backed by some conservative legal groups challenged this and said she was being excluded from the program. Amazon has moved to dismiss the case. They have said this is we never excluded anyone from becoming a delivery contractor for us, and basically said, they're going to go forward with
Also, she had never actually signed up for the program, but she was part of the lot. That was part of it. So those are a couple of examples. The irony of this is some of the arguments that are being used to dismantle these efforts are these very same arguments that people put in place to combat racism. Right. Tell me about the arguments that the conservative groups are using, but also why it was that the affirmative action case at the Supreme Court fueled this. Mm-hmm.
So, the affirmative action case, as you mentioned, it addressed higher education. It did not address any of these employment programs.
Right.
But that may be the next frontier, and I think that's partly what these groups are counting on. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VII, is what governs workplace decisions, and so it says you cannot discriminate. You cannot have preferences based on race, sex, national origin, religion. So that's one statute that's often cited. There's also, very interestingly, a Civil Rights Act of 1866.
And they're arguing that some of these programs discriminate against.
Yes, that they have unfair preferences.
Right.
There's also a Civil Rights Act of 1866, which was passed right after the Civil War, designed to extend opportunities to former slaves. And that is also being called on to say, well, you can't have racial preferences in contracting decisions. So you see these same tools that were used to expand opportunity now being used to challenge these DEI programs.
Mm-hmm. That was my takeaway from your article. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and companies are deciding where they want to ride in the middle.
Yes, and I think the risk calculation is really what has changed. None of the laws have changed here. But I think the question of what is the practical risk with some of the programs has changed. And I think we'll see, some companies that are maybe risk averse may pull back. Many companies that we've spoken to have said, no, we're not changing anything. We are as committed as ever. We're talking to our lawyers to make sure what we're doing falls within the law. and we'll proceed.
Safe to say bigger companies who have more money are going to fight more, and smaller companies who feel bullied and don't have the money to fight might back off?
We may see that. I mean, if you have deep pockets, you can afford to pay a lot of lawyers. But, I think this comes down to a fundamental question of, does equal opportunity exist in the American workplace and in American corporations?
When you spoke to business owners or people in business, what did they tell you about the importance of these programs? Business doesn't do anything to lose money, but I'm sure there's, it's not altruistic, right? There's a reason why they're doing this. Why did they say that these programs were worth fighting for?
There are many business rationales for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. I mean, one is we serve a very diverse customer base. We want to make sure that we're responding to their needs. Another is, in a few years, the American labor force will be majority minority. We want to make sure, and already it's half women, half men. We want to make sure that we have access to enough talent. We want to make sure our processes don't discriminate so that we have access to the most people we can, especially at a time when we already have labor shortages, really. So it's things like that.
It's good business. It's not just about virtue signaling or doing what you think you're supposed to do. They think it's good business.
The companies argue that this is good for business.
All right.
Lauren, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the context.